In this video, I'm going to show you how to put together a metal differential for your LDRC Drift Car. And this is actually a good upgrade for durability, but it's not necessary. So if you like running your car the way it is, stock and everything, then you don't have to do this upgrade. Especially if you just barely drive your car and you don't really like beat it up too much, then the plastic gears and the plastic differential will work just fine for you. But I'm going to be eventually switching to brushless, so I'm going to need to swap out these gears to metal because the gears that are in there, the plastic ones, will wear down a lot over time with using a more powerful motor like a brushless motor. So it's a good idea to switch everything out to metal if you're going to do that. If you're not going to do that, then this is not like something you have to do. Unless you really beat up your car all the time with the stock setup, then maybe you want to upgrade to metal anyway, just because your plastic gears will eventually break down over time. So this little gear is pretty easy to put together, this little differential, and you can run it either locked or open. But most of the time when you're using or when you're setting up a differential for a drift car, you want to lock the differential. You want it to be like, solid piece that doesn't rotate or anything. So it comes with two of these little side pieces here for the dog bones to go into, and they are different. They're not exactly the same. So the one to the right there has a recessed hole so you can put the head of the screw in, and then this other side is where the end of the screw will screw into. So they are different, so pay attention to which one's which. There's two washers in here that have little let me get some Neil knows because it's hard to get these out of here. So they have little notches so they lock into place on these. So let me get those out real quick. And then of course the gear, and those holes in the gear are for the ball bearings. So if you're going to run an open differential, then you would put the ball bearings in there, and then it could rotate and they'll spin on the on the little ball bearings that are in the gear there. At first I thought this was lubricant for the ball bearings inside the differential, but actually when I looked at it, it's labeled as glue. So it's actually Loctite for the screw to put the differential together. So just keep note of that. I probably won't use this because I'm not sure how good it is. I'll probably use some blue Loctite first, and if that doesn't work, then maybe I'll switch over to this stuff. I'm just not sure how strong it is. And then this is the piece of paper that shows you how to put it together. I mean, it's pretty obvious how to put it together. You barely even need this thing, but that's what that's for. So let me get this out of here real quick. And this little screw, I don't really have a lot of faith in to hold this thing locked very well, because this is all that's going to be locking this differential, and over time it'll probably come loose because this screw is probably not going to hold unless I use Loctite. That's probably the only way to get this screw to hold for a lock diff, is if I use Loctite. So you grab the side that has the recessed hole. It's hard to get it to focus, and then just drop this little guy in there. So see how the head just sits right down inside there, so that's the side for the head of the screw. And then you put the washer with the little notch. So I probably shouldn't put the screw in right now. So the washer lines up right there. There we go. And then you put the gear on top of that. And then this is where you would put the little ball bearings in. So like I said, I'm not going to be using them. But yeah, be careful with these things. If you drop them, they're real easy to lose. So be careful you don't drop them, because they could fall on the ground and then they'll be gone, and you'll be missing, a couple ball bearings if that happens. So they go inside here, and then that's when you would apply the lube after you put the ball bearings in. And then you come after that with the other washer and the other end. Just line up the notch. On the washer, it's kind of hard to do this while I'm holding it. There we go. And then just press it together, and then that would sandwich the little ball bearings inside there once you get both sides lined up. My focus is just not working right now. And sometimes it'll come loose while you're trying to hold it. So just gotta get these little notches lined up again on the washer. There we go. Okay, and then once you get it together, try to hold it and pinch it before you put the screw in. And of course, the screw wants to be uncooperative, but all right, so line up the screw and then tighten it down. And then I usually like to line these up straight. You don't have to do that, but I just do that anyway. And then tighten the screw as much as you can. Be careful not to strip anything. And then that's that. And then it's locked. I can't rotate it left or right. So if you wanted to keep it open and you had the ball bearings inside there, you would be able to rotate these either direction freely, or at least you should be able to. I really don't see how this little screw, you know, is strong enough to hold it, especially if you had it open, to where if you're rotating it back and forth, that little screw wouldn't come loose. So, I mean, hopefully if you just add some Loctite to it, that'll be enough strength to hold it even when it's open or closed. I don't really have a lot of faith in it. I'm gonna keep mine locked, like I said, so I will probably take that screw out and then use my own little screw with a little nut on the other side. I really wanted to use a lock nut, but there's a chance that the dog bone could end up hitting the lock nut. I'm not sure how much extra space I'm gonna have in there for something as big as a lock nut, so I'm trying to keep it as flat as possible. So I'll use one of these tiny little nuts, and then I'm using a socket head to kind of match the size of the nut on the opposite side. So both sides will have the same amount of little bit of metal sticking out in there, but that should be still low enough to where the dog bone shouldn't be hitting or interfering with it. I guess I won't know until I put it in there and test it out for sure, but that's all you have to do to put this little guy together. Like I said, I'm gonna put my own screw and nut in there because I don't really trust this little screw, but that's all you have to do. Maybe if you just put Loctite on that little screw, it'll be good enough. So that's up to you. Like I said, I don't trust it, so I'll swap it out. And later on, I'll do, next video will be taking the gearbox apart and then putting in these brass gears in place of the plastic ones, and then throwing in this metal diff as well. And then that'll be it. That'll be the rest of that video. And then there's a little spring that's inside there to push the dog bones out. So I might add my own little springs inside here. I might take a spring and like cut it in half and put a little piece of spring on there, so it kind of keeps pressure on the dog bone to be pushed out that way. Because I'm not sure how much sloppy movement's going to be in there for the dog bone. So I'll figure that out when I get to that point. So I'll just you know, keep that in mind once I put it in there, that I might need to put a spring in here like they did with the plastic differential, which I can't really show you right now until I take it apart in the next video. So yeah, it's not a good view. So next video I'll take it all apart, and then I'll show you what's going on in there, and then I'll throw all this in there, and that'll be that. Hey guys, this is future me. I put the differential in there, and there was some issues trying to use the socket head screw with the little nut on it. It was actually too big and interfering with the dog bones. So I went with the screw that's like this one that came with it. Since there's literally no room inside the differential, so I couldn't use spring either on either side. There's no room for springs and no rooms for anything extra inside that differential. I mean, it barely fit with the dog bones without having any interference. So I had to use the little screw that it came with, plus Loctite, and I used some blue Loctite for now. If the blue Loctite doesn't hold, I'll try that red Loctite that it came with. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that this did not work out like I was kind of hoping it would. So there's no room for anything extra. You have to use the screw that it comes with. And I even had to drill off a little bit of the bottom of the screw because it was sticking out about 1 millimeter when I tightened it down. So the dog bone was actually hitting it, and there was causing a lot of pressure in binding, to where every time I'd spin it, it would bounce up like that every time I'd rotate. So I had to Dremel that down with my Dremel. But now everything's good to where it moves freely and it spins freely. So I fixed everything, and I will cover all that in more detail at the end of the next video once I take the gearbox apart and put everything in there, all the metal gears and the differential. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you have any other questions or comments, let me know down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.